Welcome to Matters of the Heart podcast with Rashonda, Thursday's Tip Edition. Do you need some advice? Need some ideas to improve a specific situation, whether in the world around you or just an individual fix? Well, that's what Thursday's Tip is all about. I don't just tell you how to do it, but I'll always offer a couple of tips on things you can do to succeed in the process. Thursday's tips are geared towards making us feel empowered, starting from the inside out. So, what are you waiting for? Come on in and let me share a couple of tips with you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Thursday's Tip episode. You're listening to the Matters of the Heart podcast with Rashonda. I talk about inspiration, motivation, wellness, and mind peacefulness. On this platform, I share experiences, advice, and knowledge to help you and me improve our life and learn more. And the content is always 100% positive, guaranteed, or your money back. There are only positive vibes happening over here, all right? So hello again. Hopefully you had a great holiday, aka Easter, as the world calls it, or Resurrection Day, as I like to refer to it. But however you identify with it, I hope it was amazing. It rained heavily here, but this past Sunday was so beautiful. You wouldn't have thought it looked so grim and dim the previous days, which brings me to the thought, looks can be so deceiving, right? I mean, the weather is one thing, but people are a whole other thing all by themselves. And depending on their mood and characteristics, some people can truly be night and day, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So today I want to talk about changing moods and characteristics. And it all starts with today's topic, which is, did someone say the D word? The hardships of divorce. So if you listen to last Sunday's podcast episode, or the first Sunday, I think it was last Sunday, yes, I said I wanted to come back this week with another snippet reading of Yolanda and I's new book. My husband chose The Homewrecker over Me, Now What? Which, you know, this episode is premiering Thursday, right? Which is what, the 14th? Is it the 14th? No, it's the 13th. But anyway, the 14th is, the book will have been out for like 2 months. So if you haven't gotten your copy, please go do that. But it's a guide to discovering, rebuilding, and moving forward after infidelity and divorce. So if you've ever been married and suffered through a divorce, or have been separated and in the process of a divorce, then you know it's not an easy road. No one ever thinks of the D word, because the hope of getting married is to stay married forever and ever and ever. Unfortunately, this dream doesn't happen for everyone. Also today, I'm going to talk about characteristics, because I feel like there are way too many red flags that come up or show up in a relationship prior to marriage. Because once you say I do in front of a lot of people you may or may not know, and that good old paperwork hits the Register of Deeds office to get filed in the system, it's too late to say I don't, right? I got a couple of characteristic tips you should look for in your next relationship. But first, we're going to travel down memory lane as I talk about my divorce. So today, sit with me just for a minute as I share a snippet of chapter 17. Did someone say the D word? The hardships of divorce. The reading will start after this. Stay tuned. Marriage is not for kids and very few adults. That quote is my personal one, made up by me, yours truly. After a divorce, I realized that marriage wasn't and isn't for everyone. As a people, women and men alike, we fall in love with the idea of marriage, but we don't know what the word marriage truly entails, because it's different for everyone. It wasn't until I got a little older and started dating that I realized I had no idea what the so-called perfect guy was. I didn't have a constant male role model in my life that I could look up to to show me what a real man was and how that man was supposed to take care of a house, wife, and kids. My mom was married, but he was abusive. And the guys she dated after that were no model citizens, as they inflicted more hurt than love. So it wasn't a surprise for me to get married to someone that had been married 2 times before and had 2 kids already. Might I say one was already practically grown. When he asked me to marry him, one part of me said yes, while the other part of me said heck no. Now, a little backstory, I wanted to say no because deep down within my heart of hearts, God had already told me who my husband was. And it wasn't the one on one knee asking for my hand in marriage on Valentine's Day. Did God have some type of mix-up in the heavenly matrimony matchup, a book or something? Because the one on his knee was not he. But at 23 years old, I was very impatient. And the guy God said was the one who wasn't giving me the time of day, I don't think he even noticed me. However, I did try to get all in his face a couple of years prior when God said it, but that didn't work. He was living his life, and I felt it was time for me to live mine. This isn't the book for that whole conversation, but let's just say I went around God's words and did my own matchmaking. Plus, this guy has shown me that he was serious by presenting me with a ring. So while my heart was entangled in the other situation, I went with the other part of my heart that said, you better go for it. You're not getting younger. This may be it for you, girl. Now you can have those kids your mama wants before she dies. And I took the bait. Plus, my ex and I had dated for almost 2 years, and I had been shacking up, so to speak, and I felt it was the right thing to do. Did I love him? Sometimes I did, but most times I didn't. I knew that he wasn't the one for me. All the new things that I wanted to experience for the first time in a marriage, such as having children, purchasing a home, a new car, and just experiencing the first years of marital bliss together was outweighed by his world of, I've already done that. I married him because I thought I loved him. And although I knew things weren't on point in dating, I felt that since this was my first time being married, he would change. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. I will give anyone one main point made up by me. And if someone else says it, it's purely coincidental. However, we have to remember this before we walk down that aisle, and that's this. Whomever a person is in dating is exactly who they will remain in the marriage. Truth be told, some of us just married the wrong person. They weren't meant for you to marry in the beginning. You know that, and deep down, they knew that too. But because we've been doing this forever and we have kids together, so might as well, right? We might as well do it. It's not like you're getting married for love. You're getting married because of circumstances. And those situations will make y'all go into debt and say vows in front of everyone, even people you don't know, just to be miserable later. It's not worth it. I firmly believe that the dating stage will tell you everything you need to know about a person. That's when you need to find out who this person is and if your standards match theirs. It's not the time to force anything. If you're not feeling it, you're just not feeling it. Now that you've heard that small excerpt, I think it's equally important to truly know you as well as the person you're planning to say I do to. I knew my ex wasn't the one, but my almost 25-year-old body, and along with my mama's words, I want a grandbaby before I die, had me on a roller coaster ride to trying to have a perfect marriage and a baby. I knew what I wanted, but I was afraid to voice my opinion because who else would want me? And how long does it take to get to know someone? By this time, he and I were kindred spirits. Whether I agreed with him or his gambling lifestyle or not, I was determined to give Mama a grandchild. The world will have you messed up by putting everything on a clock. We rush our own selves into pure chaos. So let's get into these tips. Get your pad and pen ready because I'm going to be real and raw regarding some of these tips. Be right back. Now, these tips aren't just for the ladies, but men as well. And I want to start with the first tip, compassion. You know, they say you don't really know anyone until a life event happens. And this is so true. That's when you see people's true colors. You get to see how they handle hardships, how they cope with bad news, and how they handle you when you're sick. You get to see where their compassion lies. When I had my first child, she came extremely early, like 28 weeks early. And the crazy thing about it, I went into premature labor as I was visiting my mom. I knew something was wrong the day prior. I went to the airport to go back home because my ex-husband was due to have surgery the next day and was expecting me to drive him back home after his surgery. But as I sat in the airport, I kept feeling these sharp pains and they were coming like every 5 or 10 minutes. And I didn't realize at the time that I was actually in labor. Thinking something might be wrong, I called my stepdad to come back and pick me up. Now, my ex-husband was not happy about that decision. But when you know your body, you have to advocate for yourself, no matter what people think or say. To make a very long story short, I went into premature labor that night. My daughter was born 3 days after. Because I was so far from home at the time, I was allowed to stay at the Ronald McDonald House. Shout out to them. They were very fantastic. But I was scared. My baby wasn't doing good and I had an emergency C-section, so my stomach was stapled. It was a crazy time. And my ex ended up coming down, of course. But do you know, after all that shock and pain I was in, he had the audacity to want me to have sex with him? Like, yeah, he needed to get off. Not only that, but he took me to see my mother who lived 45 minutes to an hour away. And I told him to please drive carefully because those C-section scars hurt. He hit every bump along the way, including going over a railroad track at full speed. He was mad and upset because I chose to stay. 3 days later, he left me all alone as he had to get back. And it was by the grace of God that I didn't have a setback or even die during that time. But there I was in a house, in a room, all by myself, taking care of my own wounds, pumping milk for a baby that may never drink it, and popping pain pills like candy as I took the shuttle to see my baby every chance I got. So what am I saying? Compassion is defined as the care, empathy, understanding, and tenderness, concern, kindness, and consideration. Listen, life events will reveal the compassion in people. Just make sure you pay attention the first time around, okay? I wish I had compassion. Does the person you want or the person you're desiring, make sure they have compassion, all right? Number 2 is integrity. Integrity is said to have the quality of being honest and having strong morals, but I like to say it's who you truly are in front and behind people's back. okay, or closed doors. Listen, I grew up with a stepfather who was abusive, deceptive, and mean behind closed doors, but served on the usher board at church every Sunday. He was the one who never bought my mom an outfit, but would spend big bucks on his usher suits. It was important to him to look the part in front of the folks. Outside looking in, he was the perfect gentleman with a nice family and little girls who dressed nicely. But behind closed doors, he was a ravening wolf who showed his claws on a daily. And they weren't scratching his back or wood, okay? They were being used to hurt and scar my mom. You know, Maya Angelou said it best. When a person shows you who they are, believe them. I know that may be a good quote to repeat, but putting it into practice in your own life is golden. All right. Lover of God. The Bible says we should love the Lord our God with all our hearts, our minds, our souls, and this is so true. You should, but there definitely should be a balance with this, especially in marriage. We sometimes all say, I want a woman or a man that loves the Lord, but I feel like that request shouldn't stop there. You want them to have a balance. Plus, you don't want them to just love God, but you want them to have an open mind and heart to be obedient to Him as well. You want someone that actually, put into practice listening to God, on a daily. They listen to God and do not use His name to manipulate or deceive you, because that's not God. That's the enemy. So make sure they're not just a tinkling cymbal saying all the right things, but when it comes time to demonstrate, well, that's another issue. You want somebody that's a lover of God, but with a balance. Someone that's quick to apologize and forgive. Listen, love doesn't keep a record of wrong, but rejoices with the truth. True love is quick to apologize. They don't have a problem saying they're sorry, even if they aren't at fault. And they're quick to forgive and forget, That's another part to forgiving. You have to forget. Not scooting it under a rug just to pull it out a week later and throwing it in your face, So you want someone that's quick to apologize and quick to forgive. You want someone that's supportive. You want someone to be supportive of your dreams and goals and not jealous of your gift or purpose. The person in your life will help enhance your ideals and goals. They'll help enhance, your ideals and goals. All right. They won't bring you down, but they'll help lift you up. They'll help enhance you. And this is the most important, right? And they don't smother you, but give you space to do your thing, but not so far off to where they can't reach out with a helping hand if need be. All right. So you want them to be supportive, but not jealous and not destroying. Every time you go to do something or you go to accomplish a goal, they getting jealous or they tearing up, what you're trying to build up. Like, that's a person that's got some issues. They're not supportive of you. They're jealous of you. A person that supports you, they're going to enhance what you do. They're going to add to what you are already building and what you're already doing. And last but not least, and this is the most important characteristic, and that's communication, right? Making sure your person knows how, to not just shoot a one-liner, right? And think that's supposed to solve every issue or shoot off more text messages than phone calls, right? But they can talk about issues and problems as well as life, and not just open up and show love when they want intimacy. Sometimes that's the only communication people know. I would suggest taking the love languages test, because it's a very good test that will show you how, you like to be communicated with, as well as the person you're with. It could be a good start to getting the communication lines going in the right direction. I used to hate when I would get on dating sites and I would, get on those dating sites and you're trying to look for people. The first thing people would say is, I want somebody that know how to communicate, and all this stuff. But what I found out when I would talk to them is that they couldn't even communicate. So how do you want someone that can communicate? You know, they shooting all these one-liners or very matter-of-fact-ish. And I'm like, that's not communication. So I realized that people say they want communication or somebody to know how to communicate, but they really don't know how to communicate. So again, that love languages test is perfect because it will teach you your love language, how you like to be communicated with, as well as the person that you're with. So that can kind of help out a little bit. Listen, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's snippet reading and got something from the tips. If you're interested in reading more, because as I said about the self-love chapter I read last month, today was just a snippet. I'll offer more insight and go a little deeper into the topic of divorce and offer tips on how I got over my divorce. I even have a little something in there for engaged or newly married couples. So the book is available at all your favorite book outlets. As I said on the last podcast, the reviews are coming in and you can find those over on Amazon. So I may be back next month with another snippet. I mean, you never know. You just never know. All right. So take care. And remember, if you are going through a divorce or if you have gone through a divorce, it's just a detour. Okay. It just took us off the road a little bit. Right. But it's not our final destination. All right. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you guys on the next podcast. Blessings. That was it for today's episode. I hope you were inspired and feel positive vibes whenever you spend some time with me, Rashonda, and the Matters of the Heart podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to join me next time as we dive deeper into our spiritual, mental, and physical journey. You can follow Matters of the Heart podcast on Facebook to stay tuned for what's coming next. Feel free to share the episodes while you're here. Also, stay with me by subscribing wherever your favorite music and podcast stations reside. And as always, watch your heart because its actions will follow. Thank you for listening.